Hey guys, it's Noel Bittinger Team Realtors. How y'all doing out there? Hey, it's almost the end of summer here, and it has been a whirlwind of a summer for us. I mean, it has been crazy. I mentioned before that ever since real estate opened up on May 7th, these buyers be crazy out there, and the sellers also. It's just, and what I mean by crazy is that there is plenty of buyers out there, and they're doing everything possible to get one of these houses under their belts because there's always competition. Maybe not always, but for the most part, there's a lot of competition out there for them. So they end up in these multiple offer situations that we talked about before. But here's what I want to tell you about what happened recently. What an event. I mean, I've been around for a long time doing this business, and I haven't seen anything like this. It had nothing to do with multiple offers or buyers. Whole different story here. It's about my buddy. Her name is, she came to me as anonymous, no name at all. I picked up the call, and she just said, I prefer to be anonymous. I said, okay, that's fine, and proceeded to tell me about her situation. And her situation was that she sounded very frantic and very unsure of herself, and just not knowing where her transaction was going to go. So she had a family member list her home. And when this family member listed her home, it took quite some time to sell, something like 9 months to sell, from October through April, somewhere around there, which is unheard of in today's market. So anyway, when it finally sold, it was supposed to close on a specific date. It didn't close on that date. When it didn't close on that date, then the buyer went to a different lender, and all kinds of things were happening. She was explaining all of this to me as best as she could. But what happened from there is that there was another second closing date that was set that wasn't going to happen. She called me on a Friday and asked me, told me that her realtor said that it was going to close on Monday, probably. Hang in there. It was already late Friday afternoon. She said, could that happen? I said, not really. Not if they don't have an approval by a lender at this point in time. They have to have what we call a clear to close in order to close, and they usually need 2 or 3 days prior to that before closing is set. So that most likely wasn't going to happen. So that was that. Had a few conversations. She called me back because we got cut off. And I said, I addressed her as anonymous as I was talking to her because that's the only name I knew. And I asked her at one point, I said, so why do you want to remain anonymous? I mean, I'm not going to call your realtor and tell them anything. She said, oh, I just prefer to, not have anybody know, and so on. And there's a reason for that later on, I'll tell you. So anyhow, so what she did is we let that go at that point. I said to her, I said, I'd be happy to look at your purchase agreement and see exactly what it says on there so I can let you know if you are out of contract, or if you were supposed to close, if there was an extension or whatever. She said, okay, I don't have it. I never received a copy of my purchase agreement. I said, uh-oh, that's not a good thing. So she said she was going to contact her realtor and attempt to get it from her. Well, on Monday, I got a call back from her. She said, yeah, I got it. I'll email it to you now. I had already given her my email. She said, is it okay to email it to you? I said, sure, go ahead. I reviewed it, and I saw, sure enough, it was about a month out of contract, no extension, nothing on there. So she said, okay, all right, well, I'm not sure what to do here. She said it was going to close today, but I haven't heard anything yet. I said, it's not going to close today for sure. It's not going to close today. So anyhow, I went about my day, and I got a call from her in the afternoon. She said, I got a text from her. She said that the buyer didn't get approved. I want to move on. I want to move on from here, and I want to go ahead and list with you. I said, okay, all right, well, let's schedule a time. We sat down. Oh, my gosh. The poor gal was totally, totally frazzled, totally at her wit's end. The bottom line is, she had no paperwork whatsoever, nothing as far as her purchase agreement is concerned. She wanted to put it on the market with me. I said, sure, let's go ahead and sit down and do that. When we did, I asked her if she was for sure, if she knew whether or not her listing agreement was up and expired. She had no idea because she had not received paperwork about that either. She said the way she signed the purchase agreement last October, I mean, rather the listing agreement last October, was this was a sister-in-law, basically. Sister-in-law had her come over to her house, didn't even invite her in the home. She had some company or something, and had her sign and initial the listing agreement right there in the driveway while the seller, was still in the car. She said, I didn't even get out of my car. I said, what? I said, so you have no idea what it says, the expiration date, nothing. She said, no. She said, I said, did she give you a copy of it? She said, no, she just took it back with her. Both are at fault here, of course. There is no law, I don't believe, that says that you have to receive a copy. But my goodness, anytime you sign something, you should receive a copy of it, especially something as important as, purchase agreement documents and real estate documents. So anyhow, so that was that. So what happened from there is that I couldn't list it. This was a whole comical thing, but she was very nervous to communicate with her sister-in-law to let her know that she was there at the real estate office doing this next deed to list with someone else. Um, but I told her, I said, you have to be brave and let her know because we have to move on with this. So I went ahead and scheduled the showing so that we can take a look at it. I put that up in the system. She saw it on the big jumbotron that we have there in the office. And so she didn't know what to say to her. So I went ahead and told her exactly what to say. And the sister-in-law immediately texted back and responded by saying, is it Noel Bittinger? She knew it was me because she obviously saw that I was scheduling an appointment on their preview. So anyhow, she immediately said, okay, well, I'll get it out of the system now, but I'll go ahead and get my sign out of there in the lockbox and so on. But she also asked her, the realtor asked my client, new client here, how she can get it out of the system. She said, could you please show this to Noel? Because this is the screen that I'm getting and I don't know how to remove it from the system. So I said to her, I said, tell her that she needs to get with her broker because only her broker can remove it. So it was just hilarious how we were going back and forth. I was dictating to the client what she should tell her sister-in-law. I said, now, have you ever picked up the phone and talked with her? I said, why don't you just talk with her? She said, no, 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 I'm deathly afraid. She was kind of coerced into listing this. Her husband passed away, and that was the sister of the husband. And the mom and the sister-in-law kind of coerced her into listing with her, even though she didn't want to. She had always been bullied by her husband and by the family also. I said, well, what made you do that? She said, it just felt like, they wanted me to do this and this is how I should do it. She was very timid and meek, and I really needed to help her out in that respect. I didn't care if I made one dime from this. It was just the right thing to do because of the fact that it was so wrong. Everything about it was so wrong. But she was definitely afraid of contacting her. She said she's bullies me around and so on. I said, okay, well, let's see what happens here. So anyhow, the gal removed it from the system. I attempted to list it. We found out at that point that the buyer sale was going through. So, but the seller still did not want to work with the other agent. I said, it's only fair that the other agent receive it. I didn't really work for this that much. She said, yeah, but I do not want to go with her. She told me this, she told me that, and I don't want to continue with her. I said, okay, well, then let's see what they're going to say. And they did not take that well. And we have a little battle. We close on the property and so on, but we have a little battle with the other agency right now through an attorney and so on. They say that they're going to take her to court and so on because they still feel that she owes them a commission, yet they cannot produce any documentation to show that she still had a listing with them. Very unusual situation, but all I can tell you about all of this, I know it's a long-winded story, but just to tell you the turmoil that this gal went through. She came to my office, by the way, after the closing when I was giving her her check and so on. And just, I wished I could hug her. We both wished we could hug. Lee was there. My bookkeeper was there. And we were just so pleased to have gotten this over and done with for her because it was extremely stressful for her. But the lessons that I can tell you that should be something that everyone should be leery of is you must absolutely get copies of all of your documentation that you sign when you put the home on the market. And also, when you sell a home, you must have your purchase agreement documents. Most of us now do electronic signatures, so you have a copy there, but some people don't do electronic signatures. You must give them a physical copy if that's the case. And if you don't understand something, then pick up the phone and talk to them. Yes, texting and email is convenient, but there's nothing like a phone call to really get a better explanation. She had no idea where she was really with the sale and so on. And if you don't feel comfortable with the agent and absolutely cannot continue, then talk to their broker, and you can always fire someone. You don't have to be stuck in a situation if you don't feel that they're, doing their job. And another big consideration is reconsider working with friends and relatives. That always is, I'm not going to say always, but in many, many situations, it ends up in a disastrous situation or not in a good situation. And you don't want to be in a deal where you're no longer talking with that relative unless you never wanted to. And if you never wanted to, you shouldn't be doing business with them, which was the case here. So that's my anonymous story. She was, I think, going to become a dear person to take care of. She's looking for a job right now, and I'm helping her do that. She was just stuck in a very bad way, and she's out of it now. So I'm glad for that. Alrighty, that's my story for today. Thanks. Bye.